Been a minute. Been basically a week. It's good to be back with you guys. I'm Jeff. That's Tom. This is a recorded Jeff Cameron show, as in a couple hours before we would normally go on, is when we got together this morning. Spring break's been good. Time off. Tom's sick as a dog, but he's a warrior. He's here with me now. But we had, a reason to get together. Let's ease back into JCS content, as next week is going to be busy. And we've got the return of FSU football. And obviously we'll have a chance on Monday to talk also about Florida State's baseball team, which, by the way, I don't know if you know this, Tom, undefeated currently. Undefeated is the FSU baseball team currently. They have not lost any game at any point this year. And that includes most recently to the University of Florida in Gainesville.
Yeah, it was, I think they're 5 more wins away from being ranked in D1 baseball's top 25. So if you could pick up a sweep this weekend against Notre Dame, that leaves 2 more. I think their rule is 20-0 to get ranked in the top 25. If you're Florida State specifically, they do have other ACC schools in the top 25. Apologies in advance for my voice. I've been cognitively capable all week. You might have seen me a lot on the boards and on the website. Broadcast level, you know it, brother. It's a little bit different.
Oh, very different. Yeah.
But I took in every bit of Noles sports I could this week, as one normally does, but like with great vigor and passion, because we weren't able to get together. So where was my Noles outlet? And that game on Tuesday showed me 2 things. One, the bats. The bats are going to be there against anybody because those are live arms, even if they're midweek arms for Florida. And then the resilience. Florida chin-checked Florida State in a situation in the 4th inning where 3 pitchers come in, you score 5 runs, and you're thinking, boy, this has been a house of horrors. I know it's a different roster, but do they feel any of those demons? And the answer was hell to the nah. So good stuff, Noles.
Yeah, came back with 3 runs of their own right after that to extend it to 10-5, and that was your ball game. I mean, I really thought the game was over at that point when they responded with those 3 runs. And baseball's a funny game. It's not like football, where you can physically match that chin check and come back with some tough play of your own. Baseball isn't that sport. You've got to have really smart, good ABs, and you got to piece them together to score 3 runs. And Florida State did that, and then that's a level of intensity and focus and toughness, mental toughness, that I think is reason to get excited. You're right. I mean, it's a singular win. You beat your rival 12-8. Well, that's fine. But it's a big deal for this team this year, I think. Look, Florida's not very good. Let's be honest right now. It's weird. Silva does not like his pitching staff. It's pretty clear that that's a guy who's a little frustrated. He's a horse's ass anyhow, and this is one of these guys that you marvel that anybody would go play for that guy, knowing what we know about him. And I'm not bashful about bashing this man. He's a despicable human being. So I don't care. I mean, this could go to him and his fans and all that. I mean, this is a bad person. But anyhow, he's done a very good job of recruiting at Florida, and they've had loaded teams. And so to see them struggle a little bit is kind of odd. I don't know. Maybe they'll get it together. But for Florida State, this has been, as you said, a house of horrors. It's been a rivalry that has been terribly lopsided. In fact, Tom, if we go back and talk about this, and it's fun to reflect because I think we've come out of it now. We're on the other side. And I don't think Florida State's going to be bad at baseball anytime soon. Remember, years ago, you and I, probably after a stretch of like 10 games against Florida over the course of 4 years or so, or whatever it was, somewhere in there, we were at our wits' end. It was emblematic of where the baseball program was headed. And these were 2 ships passing in the night. And Florida State was headed to a disaster, a waterfall, if you will, or something. And Florida was ascending to the top of the sport. And it was really hard for us to wrap our heads around, because for the bulk of these 2 programs' existence, Florida State has been the superior program. Now, I know that Florida has won a national championship, and it eats at us. Of course, it's frustrating to see that happen. The reason it's frustrating is for the better part of 40 years, Florida State was pretty close to the standard. I mean, LSU and Texas would take exception to that statement. Fair enough. But Florida State was in the conversation as the most consistent and elite baseball program in America. They were missing one thing, which was the national championship, but they won everything else, and they did so with great consistency. Florida was an afterthought. They were just whatever. Miami was always our greatest rival in baseball. Miami had a ton of success. Miami's won national championships. And so that was the rivalry. When Florida began to dominate us, and we were looking at the quality of the recruits at Florida and the quality of the arms at Florida, one after the other, you and I were like, oh, well, this is it. It's over. I mean, we've, outside of that run in which we went to Baton Rouge and won against LSU and then went to the College World Series inexplicably, baseball being baseball, because that was not a good Florida State team that went to the College World Series. We really have been on the wrong end of this. So I think it was a symbol, perhaps a larger shift is at hand here.
Let's hope so. The question would be, if we found a couple of diamonds in the rough, are we able to retain them year over year? Are we able to continue to accrue talent? The recruiting is there. The development is there. Like, I'm not ready to do something to your Cheerios the moment that we're ready to smile as a baseball fan here in Tallahassee. I'm just saying, if you're talking about programs passing each other, there are a couple of other macro factors that we need to take a look at and see what happens. But what I did like was, for the first time in basically 10 years, you're smiling for a midweek win in Gainesville. We did beat them in the COVID season, which I think rose up and bit meat in the ass, because that team might have been pretty good in 2020 before the world shut down 3 years ago, almost to the day now.
Wow, yeah. Yeah,
and then, Ira and I were discussing, he was on vacation, but ever the intrepid reporter, he's like, do you have a 2013? I'm like, well, outside of 20, regular season victories, basically there are none in the last 10 years except for the COVID season. There was one good moment in the Supers when Drew Carlton pitched one of the great games in Florida State postseason history against a loaded Florida lineup. Other than that, you've got no happy memories in Gainesville until Tuesday. And it looks sustainable. That's the thing. Florida State looked the part of a better baseball team than Florida did on Tuesday. It wasn't baseball being baseball, and that was our big, long overture for 6-7 years, was you could beat them because of the sport.
Yeah, because of the sport, yeah.
But you couldn't beat them in a weekend series if we played 3 in a row. You just wouldn't do it. So it's nice to see that the bats do what they do. And then some of these young pitchers, their stuff, dude. I mean,
they got real stuff.
I'm watching a lot of spring training baseball up here. It's great that I get 2 networks that give me a lot of innings, a lot of pitches. The stuff, especially the breaking stuff that a lot of these younger kids have, looks like what I'm watching in spring training. Now it's just a matter of getting the sequencing, the conditioning, the consistency. But they brought a whole lot of stuff in here year over year. The staff did. Good job to Link and Posey for doing that.
Yeah, I was going to say, listen, the changes to the coaching staff have been significant. Posey was a hire that a lot of people were very excited about. He's a known commodity, a Tallahassee guy that people really knew. And I found it curious over the last several years when I would look at baseball programs and rankings as we got later in the year. I mean, Dallas Baptist was always in the top 10. I'm like, why is Dallas Baptist any good? What are we doing? This is a crazy sport. Well, Posey was there. And, that was a program of significance. So I think it was a good hire. I think this is a reputational thing where our pitchers are going to want to come to play for him. And Link is a very serious person. One thing I liked, and I've liked right from the get-go, it's a phrase I use often when I see people do really dumb things or say really dumb things, politicians in particular. They're like actors, right? A lot of the politicians on social media these days are actors. They're playing a part. They're saying it's a playbook. I mean, they just say the same things over and over again to try to get reelected and to curry favor. And you just roll your eyes because nobody's actually legislating. They're just playing a part. I feel like when you see people like that, you say, these aren't serious people. These aren't real people. These aren't serious people. Link Jarrett is a very serious person. I mean, as in he takes every step along the way in this program as being very, very important. Like he does, it's an attention to detail. It's purposeful. It's thought out. look, he's in year 2 after a disastrous year 1. But we're commenting on what we've seen, what we've talked to him about, what we're witnessing now. And it tells you that this was the guy that won a lot of coaching awards at various stops along the way. You just realize that the team last year, that was not a byproduct of him not being the guy. It was the inheritance of a messed up program. And it's hard to turn it around this quickly. Now, they may lose in a regional this year. They may be a 3 seed. Who knows? But, Tom, they're 15-0, and they're significantly better. And you know it, and I know it. We're watching this team. If you look up and down this roster, they have ball players. They got tough dudes who have good at-bats. These are really good ABs. You talk about pitching, and you're right to talk about pitching because the stuff is there for a lot of these guys. You got some frontline guys you feel good about. We'll see. I'm still a little worried about the bullpen long term. But these are great ABs. These are smart hitters.
No, they are. And I'll quickly to the bullpen. I think if a couple of these freshmen grow more comfortable in these situations, which is why I think Link set it up to where you'd have a lot of pitches from younger players outside of Dorsey. Like once Dorsey settled down, he gave up the granny. It's one bad pitch in a bad spot. Hate to have it, but he didn't load the bases, so it was one bad pitch. Then he gives up a single and he retires 8 in a row. Once he settles it down, you can give Charles a shot at it. You can give Rowan a look. I love what I saw from Abraham this past weekend. If those young players settle down emotionally and can meet the moment, your bullpen's going to be fine. But that's a big if because it's part of their development. They're going to have some ups and downs. Mm-hmm. To the lineup, though, Lodis was one of your best hitters on Tuesday. He was under the Mendoza line for most of the first month of the season, into the second month of the season. Great at bats. Powerful shot down the right field line that's just foul, and then he hits one to the wall in center field on the very next pitch. You talk about mental toughness. It's not, that was my chance. It was like, all right, let's lock back in. Let's go. And then Farrow has been very good of late as well. I'm avoiding talking about the main guys because we know the main guys. When you are going to lengthen a lineup and you're going to have a situation where you can get the bags loaded, not come away with a run and still score 12. If you're going to have a lineup like that, it's dudes like Farrow and Lodis and whoever's catching on a given night that are going to lengthen your lineup and put it in a position where you can do that, where it's not just for the other team so long. We had some good hitters here in the dry spell, but it was like once you clear the 4-hole in the lineup, you could tell the other roster is like, whew, okay, we got an inning to settle down. You don't anymore. Not with this group. It's just very impressive to see those two programs on the field together because Florida has a lot of talent. A lot of those kids are going to get drafted. They're a mess right now, I think, a little bit mentally. They're a little out of sorts. But when you compare the rosters, athlete for athlete on the field in a situation like Tuesday, we look more the part than we have in a long time. And that reminds me so much of the transition in the Mike Norvell era. Football, it's more necessary. Baseball, sometimes it could be more of a luxury. But it's nice to see, like when Florida State football did it, more and more athletes that make Jermaine Johnson not stick out like a sore thumb, run out onto the practice fields and run out onto the fields on the Sunday. The baseball program has done that pretty quickly. You got a lot of large dudes with a lot of tools out there already.
Hard to win baseball games. If you're 15-0, you're doing a lot of things very well. You're a complete team. You don't accidentally. There's only 2 undefeated teams in the country. We're one of them. Baseball's a game where every week a top-tier team loses a midweek game. We know how this works. I mean, it's the lesser program's opportunity to pad a resume and get some real bonus points for the end of the year discussion about making a regional. So they throw their best arms typically. They're going to give everything they got to beat you. It's important for Jacksonville to beat Florida State. It's important for USF. It's important for any of these schools, the North Floridas and the Mercers and these programs that you play. They have to try to win some of these games. And typically it's an opportunity for you to kind of explore your roster and explore your pitching staff and explore your bullpen and see what you got. Florida State's taking those games seriously, yes, but they've played a lot of guys. They've given a lot of guys looks. They've emptied the bench several times this year. And by the way, a lot of the guys that they bring in are guys that have really made the most of their opportunities too, who are begging to start. Williams and others, and these kids can play.
No, there's depth. This is, I guess what we're learning is in baseball, you can flip your roster faster than football. Like it's more possible because again, you don't have to be 21, 22 years old and 275 pounds, to be able to play on the line. Like you can be a younger player and still handle business okay in baseball because it's not quite as contact oriented as football is. But yeah, again, just to see those two programs look the way they did, and then for Link to make the decision to not pitch Whitaker on Tuesday, I thought was an interesting message to send to the roster, to send that he's fine.
Yeah.
He's okay because Whitaker had been moved to the midweek because of the rain out the first weekend of the season. Link had expressed that we've got to get him back in the weekend rotation. But if you've come this far to the week where you play Florida on a Tuesday,
yeah,
ranked in the top 10 with 5 losses as they were by D1 baseball, like here's a real opportunity to pay it off. Hey, since we're here, we might as well kind of energy. And he said no. He said no to that. Let's put out Armstrong. We're going to run him out there as an opener. Little dicey in the beginning, but we got out of it. Nice play by James Tibbs and Wright. He gets through the 3 innings, and then you're on your way. Like I found that to be early in this season, which I think he's trying to bolster confidence. I found that to be a risky decision, but it tells me that Link he won't go on the record and say it, but Link feels pretty good about what he's got to not throw Whitaker in that spot on a Tuesday.
And you may hear my dog bark in about 2 seconds as we're doing the show from the house today. And there is a woman who's refusing to keep it moving outside with her dog. And there you go. All of the glimpses of what it's like to record a pod for the radio. No, but good girl. There you go. She kept it together, everybody. She kept it together. I thought it was curious, Tom, because, and I'm glad he did it. At some point, he was going to have to do it, right?
Yeah.
You were going to get Whitaker back in the rotation. But what I thought was interesting is that he kind of hinted to us, without saying it, that, it was kind of a blessing that they were able to have a guy on a Tuesday because of the series of games you were playing against good teams.
No, he outright said that, which I thought was interesting. He was willing to admit that these are better clubs that we're playing.
Yeah, we were playing better teams on Tuesdays than we were playing on the weekend.
And then Notre Dame got swept by Virginia Tech last week, if I'm not mistaken. So you have that information, and you're looking at it, and you could say, all right, one more week, and then for the Gulf Coast game in a week, or Stetson, I think we're playing next Tuesday. For the Stetson game at home, that's when we'll make the switch. And he's like, no, let's do it now.
Let's bite the bullet right now, and then
Dorsey's an arm, but still that sends a message to me. If I'm a pitcher on that staff, if I'm Whitaker, if I'm in that lineup, I'm like, man, okay, all right, coach said the hell with this, and they. By the way,
for people who are just now kind of coming around, basketball season's over. Florida State. I know we're about to enter March Madness, and everybody will be excited to watch the tournament, of which we will not be a part. And we got thoroughly shellacked yesterday by North Carolina in a game that was never really competitive. And shame on that Florida State basketball team. And that's the first time I've said that this year. Shame on them. That effort yesterday was putrid. It was an embarrassment. They did not try. I have a problem with that. I watched the game. They didn't fight for rebounds. They're not as good as North Carolina. They weren't going to beat North Carolina. Fine. It's a matchup problem. You got to play hard. I don't understand it. You beat Virginia Tech. You play the game that you played, and then you come out listless. I don't get that. That's an aside. But what I wanted to say was, for those of you who are turning the page and now coming over to baseball and going to lock in on baseball, you've got a very thorough discussion in the opening segment of the show today about this baseball team. Please understand that you have 2 professional hitters, 2 Major League Baseball players on this roster, bare minimum.
Yeah.
And try to watch them as much as you can, because what you have at third base right now is a freak of a player. This is an elite athlete. This is a big, strong man who can run like the wind blows, whose defense has improved immensely.
Whoa.
Immensely. Tom, he's a player over there at third right now.
There was a play on Tuesday, much like when we were taking in the game, but it's different stakes when you're playing.
When he charged in?
I mean, it's a soft 2 hopper, and you've got to charge in, and your mechanics, especially if you're going to go glove to hand, not barehanded. You go glove to hand, you have to be so sharp and on point. The mechanics have to be efficient. You've got
to have a rocket right there.
wow, Cam has been so much better in the field this year. And yes, they're major league bats. I'll let you expound on that. I am not talking about him and Tibbs because they're the constants. It's just nice to see all this other stuff around there. But they're hell to deal with at the top of the lineup.
Well, you got a problem there. Like, I mean, listen, and the thing is, again, you've got a righty lefty situation, and it's so fun to watch when you pitch around guys. You got bats in this lineup that are going to make you pay. And obviously those two players are very, very good. What Tibbs is doing, obviously the numbers for power speak for themselves, but man, that's different. And he's playing with such confidence, and he hits the ball really hard to all fields.
And on top of all of that, which we haven't talked about, and we did a lot when we were slumping, when we were down as a program, the base running's good. The base running helped you get out to the 4-0 lead. The base running leads to a Chuck Knobloch level error at second base. What an awful boot that was by a Florida
It turned out to be very costly.
you score 2 runs there because you tag up, you take the extra base. If you go second to third in a situation, I'm not going to do backflips. But where that throw is coming from, you have to be alert to be the trail runner at first to get from first to second.
Yes.
These are little details. The Faroe hustle double turns into a run the next inning. Like, okay, all right. Fundamentals, baby.
Well, they're having fun playing the game. Listen, you can call it overkill. I'm always very aware. I try to hear myself. I get that you might be like, guys, no, they're 15-0, everybody. They haven't lost the game. It's not normal. It's not normal. This has been extraordinary.
And look, they can slump. They're going to.
They will. It's baseball.
But it's just the reason you hear what you hear in our voices is because the basics that we see, we have not seen since I was in probably my early 30s or late 20s. So I'm 37, folks.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a minute, Tom. It has. What's funny, and we'll put a ribbon on this and move forward. And we do have to talk about basketball temporarily, very briefly. We'll get to some football here shortly too. I think the reason that I get excited in this situation is to see it now reminds you of how absent it's been. You just said it basically when you talk about base running. To see him pick up the baseball, to see him throw strikes, to see him, they don't. Last year, when you watched games, you watched a lot of 3 possible outcome baseball, right? A lot of strikeouts, a little bit of power, and a whole, it was brutal. And this team picks up the baseball. They run the bases well. They have really good at bats. They're not over here excessively striking out. I mean, it's impressive.
So I was there. You've been around this program for a
long time.
Seminole moments. I know that's an often used pun, but like big moments in program history. Covered it, either been in the stands, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I had the unfortunate luck, but in a way I feel appreciative because you document the times.
You were at Auburn?
For the very end of it.
Yeah.
And I was aghast at what I heard down the first base line sitting with the families. And I'm not naming what family said what, and I wasn't sowing the seeds of discontent and disorder. All I was one big ear listening to what people were saying about the situations, the culture, the lack of consistency. It was more than a mom or a dad protecting their kid. It was a lot of commiserating about what is going wrong while the team is still alive in a regional and they'd already won their first game. And so there's a chance for them to do some damage. Man, what a difference it is from that place, which was so dysfunctional, top to bottom, just from the family's perspective now to where they are. It is night and day. It is worth documenting. And I don't know. I'm not going to put a limit on these guys right now. Not with those bats. Not with that lineup. The pitching we'll see. But with that lineup, they're going to win a lot of ball games.
Yeah, I was looking at Nolan. Warren Nolan, is that right? Is that the website?
Could be.
It's one of these sites. They do baseball. They do basketball. But they'll project based on the numbers, records. He has Florida State finishing 45-10.
It could happen.
Well, I mean, at this point, yes, it could very well happen. Yes, it could, Tom. And I just wanted that to wash over us for a second. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3, Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Block Party is at the Brass Tap in Midtown on Saturday, March 16th and Sunday, March 17th. And this year is our 10th anniversary. So that means more specials, more drinks, more music, more food, and more fun. Lucky shots, green beer, baby Guinness, corned beef, pretzels, sausages, chips, and no cover. Bring the whole family for Tallahassee's favorite St. Patty's Day party, March 16th and 17th only at the Brass Tap in Midtown.
I'm Greg Tisch, here to share one of my favorite TCC stories. In the summer of 1966, Eugene Lamb wanted to stay in shape before leaving to play college basketball in Louisiana. So he jogged to Tallahassee from his home in Midway and helped lay the bricks for the first building on what's now the TCC campus on Appleyard Drive. Today, he is a longtime member of the TCC District Board of Trustees. It's no exaggeration when we say Trustee Lamb helped build TCC into what it is today.
TCC thanks our community for 58 years of support. We look forward to moving into the future together.
When I get home from, so I call Swain Pools and Spas to feel like pool in the back. I call Swain Pools and Spas. Now I'm soaking up the fun when I want to.
Truckloads of new and used Caldera and Hot Spring Spas are available now at Swain Pools and Spas. Don't wait. Get to Swain Pools and browse the best inventory to find the spa of your dreams. These won't last long, so come see us today. Just look for the huge sign on Tharp Street or call 386-7113 for Swain Pools and Spas.
I know what you're thinking right now. Where can I find a place to get my car fixed and also check out some awesome new hot tubs and spas while I wait? Well, you're in luck. Because when you bring your car or truck in to get serviced at Tallahassee Car Care, it's under the same roof as Swain Pools and Spas for tires, brakes, batteries, tune-ups, oil changes, and all the service you need to get back on the road. Choose the certified technicians at Tallahassee Car Care. Drop by our shop on Tharp Street or visit online at TallahasseeCarCare.com.
Ready for a breath of fresh air this tax season? Well, breathe easy with E&B Heating and Air. Don't miss out on federal tax incentives for new AC systems and heat pumps. Take advantage of up to $2,000 in tax credits, plus additional savings from city and manufacturer rebates. E&B Heating and Air Conditioning has been serving Tallahassee and surrounding areas since 1974. Call us today for your free estimate at 850-575-9119 or visit us online at ENBHeatandAir.com. That's ENBHeatandAir.com. Indulge in the authentic Korean way of grilling right at your table at the all-new Chow One Korean Steakhouse in Tallahassee. All-you-can-eat succulent beef, chicken, pork, and an amazing selection of fresh vegetables and homemade sauces crafted with all-natural ingredients in a luxurious, upscale dining environment. Chow One Korean Steakhouse. Experience the ultimate fusion of flavor and fun in Tallahassee. Enjoy happy hour from 4 to 7 daily. Located at 1107 Appalachia Parkway, just east of the Capitol Building.
Orthopedic pain and injury deserves effective treatment options now, so you feel better fast. Whether you have joint pain that won't subside or an urgent orthopedic injury, we are the specialists to get you back on your feet. And there's only one thing better than fast care: expert care. We believe you deserve both. TOC, only experts. Learn more at teamtoc.com.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Yeah, so this is going to be fun coming up on Monday for football. We'll be out there with the luncheon. I'll be there, of course, Tom, talking to the coaches and get to hear Mike's address. And then obviously we got practices starting next week. So welcome back, spring football. It's the nice little taste, but this time around it's going to be fascinating because of the intense competitions. I want to get to that this segment. Before we do, interesting that I heard a conversation on CBS Sports and a couple of different places about whether or not Leonard Hamilton is back next year for Florida State basketball. It's the first open discussion I've heard amongst analysts talking about the possibility that Leonard will not be back at Florida State next year. Now, that's interesting to me because that sounds like a conversation, Tom, that was spurred by a conversation that somebody may have had with him. And I'm speculating here, but I'm telling you that if that's true, if that happens, it is not what we suggested, because I don't think Florida State's in a position to fire Coach Hamilton. And I don't think they will fire Coach Hamilton. I think he is free to come back next year if he'd like. That's my belief. I could be wrong, but I don't think they're in a position financially. I don't think they're in a position organizationally to make that move just yet. I think they'd rather wait until Florida State is out of the ACC and knows where they're going to be long term. It's much easier to sit down and interview coaches about the possibilities of a future when you know what that is, where you're going to be. I think it's much easier to organize the collective and to organize all financial efforts moving forward once you're out from under this lawsuit and you've built the facilities that you're building with the stadium over there and indoor practice. I mean, not indoor, the football only facility and all that. I think then you move on if that's what you want to do. So to me, this was probably sparked by Ham's inner thoughts. And I have not spoken to Leonard recently, so I am not hinting at anything here. People know that I have a good relationship with Leonard Hamilton. I love Coach. I think he's a great guy, and he's done a lot of great things here at Florida State. Multi-time Coach of the Year in the conference, and for a long stretch there, Florida State was the second best team in the ACC. This is all documented, but obviously the program is in a bad spot now. It's not good. This is not acceptable to have back-to-back seasons of not making the NCAA tournament. So, a lot of people are wondering what's going to happen. I think it's interesting that you had people on the desk, former players, not of Florida State, just former notable basketball players, college basketball players, wondering whether or not Leonard Hamilton is coming back. That means that he's had to give some serious thoughts about his place in the game. And I think if you're him, like a lot of older coaches, what's happened with NIL and what's happened with the transfer rules, it's tough. It's almost unfair to ask a 76-year-old man to ask any of these older coaches in either sport, college football or basketball, to try to reinvent themselves again. One of the things that was stated, and this is unfortunate, Tom, because I do think it is a little bit at play here, and we've wanted to seek the balance where players get paid and they have certain freedoms that workers should have, and all these things that we wanted to see change about college sports, but we also didn't anticipate this, where it's seemingly unregulated and it's kind of chaos. This has hurt the Leonard Hamiltons of the world because of the way he was able to create a culture and build a program around developing young men, emphasizing education, creating a program culture that was not based solely on what you could do for them financially. And now I think we've moved to a place where that is the catalyst for your program, any program. What can you do? What can you offer players financially to come to play for your team? And I think it hurts the Leonard Hamiltons of the world significantly.
Yeah, I think there's a pinch point here. It's obvious. If you're talking about from the perspective of an athletic department, when Mike Norvell gets brought back and he chooses to come back and he gets a bump, and you say, well, it is reported, not you say, but like that football resources are at the heart of him coming back, not just a little salary bump, it's football resources. That's code. And we all know what that's code for. Mm-hmm. More money is being put into the football program. Now, you can fill in the blanks and where you think, it's like a Mad Lib, where you think that's going to go. Coaching resources, infrastructure, NIL, whatever it is. Maybe it's all the above. But we're at a pinch point right now where we don't know our future. We think we know, but we don't know what the immediate future is. more resources that they did not want to put into football are being put into football from the athletic department's perspective. Like, this is the concession of bringing back Mike Norvell. It's like, okay, Mike, so I've got to pull more resources from elsewhere and put it into football now because you've got us over a barrel, which again, at the time I said, good job, Mike's agent, because it's going to help FSU football. But that means there's less to go around. That means there's fewer resources to go around in the immediate because you don't have the windfall of the TV deals of the other conferences. So where does that pinch get felt? I think it's been felt in basketball. I think the NIL efforts of Florida State have hurt basketball specifically because they knew that there was a fire in the building that was the football program that they had to put out, and it's all hands on deck. And so now you're in a place where there's no cavalry coming. And for Leonard, what he said, I think that the problem is, and you know this, the cost to put together a top 10 roster in basketball is astronomical on a per player basis versus football. And it doesn't bring in more money for a program. Unless you're only a basketball athletic department, it really doesn't make a whole lot of financial sense to go get 17 and 18-year-olds and pay them what NIL is demanding that they get paid. It's far too expensive. Like, if you thought about it, 4 basketball players equals how many football players in NIL?
Yeah.
Like, it's a factor of 8 or 10. Like, it's something absurd along those lines. So Leonard's miscalculation, and he said this himself, I'm not going on my own analysis here. He realized that he needed to be more portal dependent on veteran players. He said, that's where, I didn't have that right. I should have gotten more veteran players out of the portal. And he landed one in Jameer Watkins. And if there's any pathway to doing anything next year, that redshirt junior has to come back. He's got to want to come back, and we got to find a way to bring him back. But I don't know that we're going to be able to do that. There's a lot of tough questions right now. And I agree with you. I don't think we're in a place where we just committed more and more resources to football.
Yeah.
That I don't know that the expendable income is there to make a move or bolster Leonard's program. I think it has to stay where it is until we find a new conference home.
It's unfortunate. And I've really never been at a place as a talk show host to where I feel like I'm in limbo discussing an opinion I have about a program. I have always been someone who comes in and gives you my opinion, right or wrong, about the state of a program and tells you what I think is going to happen or what should happen or whatever. I mean, it's what I'm paid to do. I don't have the right answer for FSU basketball. I don't know what the answer is right now other than to wait. And it's the worst way to talk about a program. You're either winning or losing. You're either on the right path or you're not. You have the right guy or you don't. In most every case, this is true. I know the world's gray. It's not black and white. The world's gray. We understand there's nuance to most discussions and issues. But in sports, we kind of know what it's based around. And this isn't about the winning or the losing, because if it was about the winning or the losing, he'd be fired right now.
This is, you're a homeowner. I'm formerly one. I think the paperwork's supposed to get done today.
Yeah.
It's like you could want new flooring or you could want to redo your kitchen. Right?
I want to redo a lot of things at my house, Tom.
Right. But if the air conditioning unit dies, which one's going to win? It's like, that's great. That's great, hon. We wanted to put a pool in the back. I was all for it. Both of our air conditioning units are dead. Got zapped by a bolt of lightning, and
now it's 98.
And we're out of warranty.
Get the air working.
We're outside of warranty. We got to call Barano Heating and Air Conditioning here. We got to get it fixed.
Yeah.
The money's got to go there. And if you're an athletic director at Florida State in modern times where you've got to choose, the goal for us is to get to a place where you don't have to choose between sports.
Correct.
You have money to take care of all sports, but you've got to choose right now. As much as I've loved this program and thought that this program helped put a smile on our face when we were ass on the football field, and it did, there is no choice. The choice is football. It has to be. And I think the next choice isn't even basketball. That's the other dirty discussion here, is the second choice isn't basketball. Even though it makes you more money, the university is very committed to softball. It is now, I think, going to find a renewed commitment to baseball, given what it's showing. It's committed to soccer. Like, damn it, man. You've got to make choices, unfortunately, when you don't have all of the resources to work with.
They're in a pickle if he walks, by the way. That's the other side of this.
Yeah.
If he decides to call it a day and says, this is not the way I want to coach. This is not who I am. We've been better than this. I don't see a way out in the near future. It's been real, guys. Thanks for everything. And he retires. Well, this is not good, man. We're not in a position to go through an exhaustive search for an elite coach that you can turn things around.
No, the only way you have an understanding with the new hire that you're not going to be held accountable for anything that happens these next few years.
That's terrible.
That guy doesn't want their reputation tarnished. So what you're looking at is an interim. Well, you're going to elevate somebody currently on staff to steer the ship into the, it's a pickle. It is. And it's not a good tasting pickle. Not a good one.
No, this is a rotten pickle, Tom. This is a rotten pickle. And on that note, it's the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Attention, Florida. Are you a victim of an auto accident? We introduce our live chat sponsor, Hyson Leaka Law Firm, dedicated to representing injured clients statewide. If you've been in an accident, call Hyson Leaka Law Firm at 813-803-0733 for a free consultation. Remember, there's no cost to you unless they win. Your interests come first with Hyson Leaka Law Firm, the name you can trust for justice. Call 813-803-0733 now or visit HysonLeakaLawFirm.com. Hyson Leaka Law Firm, your advocate in times of need.
Project to $16 million. The transit center will sit in the corner of Orange Avenue and Meridian Street. The project should be complete by late 2025. This is Rachel Anay with your Old Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times this afternoon. Daytime highs approaching 79. Winds out of the northeast around 5 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies again tonight. Lows level off around 56. Daytime highs approaching 79 tomorrow. Cloudy skies with a few peaks of sun. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 77.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future. So everybody knows, Eddie, that you are a spectacular cook. Of course they know that. If they go into Bumpa's, the food is always good. I mean, everything on the menu.
Mm-hmm.
Everything at Gordo's is delicious. I always, of course, get the bungalow chunglo, as I call it.
The bang con lechon, Jeff?
Is that what is the pork?
The bang con lechon, Jeff.
Okay, the bungalow chunglo. It's delicious. All these things, all the items, everything you do, a master cook. But, sir, I would ask you, what is a skill that you possess that you're particularly proud of that nobody would know and that you could share with us here?
Growing hair, Jeff. Growing hair.
You're an asshole. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Well, given our extended discussion there about the rotten pickle, excuse me, that is our basketball situation. I realize we have 6 minutes left in the hour, and that's not what you do. Well played for those that are watching on video. Good job. So we're going to go all football next hour, pretty much all Florida State football next hour. Because I wanted to take a couple of minutes here, Tom, to get into the weighty debate of very privileged people, which was what we watched with Rory and Jordan Spieth and who was the third yesterday?
Victor Hovland. He's
That's
been
right.
in one of these before.
Yeah, Victor. That's right. It was Victor. So I laughed at what I saw yesterday, but I laughed harder at the media trying to cover it. Because if you go back and listen to the audio, it's really not contentious at all.
Yeah.
I think the opposite is true, meaning the headlines read today that there is a dust up and a verbal spat between Victor Hovland, Jordan Spieth towards Rory McIlroy for a drop that they didn't like. As it turns out, when I went back and listened to the audio closely, I think they're trying to help him. I think that it sounds to me like Jordan is actually coming at it from the perspective of, I don't want you to get penalized for dropping somewhere you shouldn't. Like, are you sure it crossed here? Did it ever cross land? Did you? Yeah. Like, I mean, they're getting into the meat of the rules. And I know for you, and you know the rules exceptionally well. I was like, Tom probably likes this because he knows the rules. He probably enjoys this little discussion.
Yeah, I've been in a lot of these. In high school, high school players aren't so good. So red line hazards and flight path and whether it bounced, things like that comes into play a lot in high school.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I'll just say really quickly, Rory snap hooked a drive on, it was an 18 or is it 7? Number 7.
18.
18. So
seven is the one that you're talking about. 18, he did it, and I think people were a little miffed by the line he took on 18.
That one they were probably angrier at. The other one I think is fine. When you go back and look, I actually think he shortchanged himself by 10 yards. I don't think he did anything wrong with that one. I don't have a problem with that one. And I also don't think for people that don't know, it went in the water. It hit land and went in the water. And he said it crossed, it was past the red line. And they weren't sure that it was. And they were asking him, are you sure? They didn't have an opinion of their own. Like neither Victor nor Jordan really had a definitive opinion. They weren't saying, we know for sure that it didn't or did.
I think Victor was more contentious. Jordan was just speaking to speak because that's what he does.
Right.
Because Jordan walks. So
he
really,
says the TV people told him it didn't.
Folks, this is like it is a more egregious, larger example than like an official on the sidelines trying to spot a punt that goes out of bounds. Like where does it cross the line of play? Where am I going to spot this?
Nobody knows.
Multiply that distance by 150. That's what these guys are trying to do. It's 300 yards away. They don't have camera evidence of where things happen in this particular circumstance because they don't have the main broadcast on. They've just got a featured group following them. And hole 7's not an important hole in the grand scheme of Sawgrass. So that's what's going on. And they're all trying to figure out where it bounces. It's on the player himself, the golfer who hits the ball.
Right.
To be honest, in that situation, it is on the other two players to protect the field from this guy cheating. Now, that's why Jordan's commentary is effing worthless. He's like, well, I know this doesn't mean anything, but you can stop. You can shut up there.
Just stop when you say it doesn't mean anything because you know it doesn't.
He's walking 100 yards over to Rory to tell him something that they can't use when it comes to a ruling. Victor is being more contentious. Rory's trying to cut a deal, and that sounds nefarious, but he's just trying to say, look, if you think it's over here and I think it's over here, let's split the difference, which you cannot do. That's not cool. But it is the height of almost like those Gillette cricket commercials with Charles Barkley.
Yeah.
We were like, oh my God, guys, get it together. Because it takes 8 minutes. It takes 8 minutes for this to be resolved. And then Rory goes back and hits on the tee box anyway.
It's strange. I thought he dropped right where he needed to drop. I thought he shortchanged himself.
He did. So from the angle, now here's what happened. From the angle that we could see from the opposite side of the
ball hit above.
The ball bounces. You can see it is physically impossible for the ball to come into our view if it didn't hit in play on the good side of inbounds.
Correct. Yes, it did. Yeah.
It's a dead issue. No, Jordan was useless. Victor was a little contentious, and then they got it right. And Rory still ends up shooting 65 with a double in that situation.
He had 2 doubles yesterday, Tom. He had 10 birdies. Now, can you imagine good Lord, my man tied the record. This was the opposite of his final round at Bay Hill. This was the Rory that you want to see. This is the guy that's stalking hole to hole, where you're like, oh, there's a bounce there. This is going to be a fun tournament. You got all the big names playing pretty well. We'll see if Jordan bounces back today. Victor, I don't think Victor will. He lost his game from the end of last year.
He's making a mechanical change. Once it flips, bet him fast because he's going to shoot 63.
But here's the problem. Why did he do that? He was hitting the ball so well at the end of last year. Why would you do this? I do not understand this when players do this. It drives me nuts.
It's a good question. Now, you know the weather down there better than I do.
It's going to be fine today. It's perfect.
They're going to go low this weekend. There's nothing they can do to defend the course.
The greens will dry out, though. If it doesn't rain at all, the greens will get a little bit tougher. It did a little bit yesterday at the end of the day. By the way, last point on golf. You know how much I hate a tournament being dependent, the tournament winner being dependent on when your tee time is. I hate this. Now, I get, early, late, early, all that stuff. But, this is my complaint about the British Open. If you get caught in one of the swales, sorry, you can shoot 66 the other days, but you shot an 82 because it was a hurricane when we asked you to tee off, cost Tiger Woods a major. Anyhow, that said, TPC Sawgrass has a problem. 14 of the last 16 years, early, late, has won the tournament. If you go off early, as Rory did yesterday, you're going to score. The greens are damp, and they go right at it. They just all fire pins.
Which is where he wins historically. He doesn't win on very many U.S. Open tracks. Even the U.S. Open he won was a soggy mess at Congressional.
Yeah, he ran away with it. Yeah, well, when he does win, he runs away with it. He can be really, really good. It's just it's fascinating. I do think Sawgrass has a bit of a problem here. We've gone beyond this just being a weird occurrence. Like basically, if you go off early, you've got a much better chance to win the tournament than if you tee off late on that opening day, unless there's a storm coming that we don't know about. Hour number 2, let's get into some Florida State football. We'll do it next. 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Attention, Florida. Are you a victim of an auto accident? We introduce our live chat sponsor, Hyson Leaka Law Firm, dedicated to representing injured clients statewide. If you've been in an accident, call Hyson Leaka Law Firm at 813-803-0733 for a free consultation. Remember, there's no cost to you unless they win. Your interests come first with Hyson Leaka Law Firm, the name you can trust for justice. Call 813-803-0733 now or visit HysonLeakaLawFirm.com. Hyson Leaka Law Firm, your advocate in times of need.
Heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism, and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout, resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Services to call away.
222-7722. AC and electric is what we do. Service, repairs, and installation too.
222-7722. Parker Services. Conferences to call away.
Invest in a Peak Performance membership and you'll buy peace of mind in knowing that you're extending the life of your system and probably saving money on your power bill too. The program includes comprehensive tune-ups that keep your system running at its maximum efficiency. And Peak Performance members get many benefits, including priority service. Members jump to the front of the line when their comfort system fails. And a 15% discount on all parts. The Peak Performance membership pays for itself over and over again. Call today and have peace of mind. And Parker's is now offering electrical services too.
Parker Services. Conferences to call away.
Florida license number CMC 050334.
Social Kitchen is now open on Cary Forest Parkway near Ology Northside, Tallahassee's only premier market where you can receive the famed Snake River Farm steaks and premier meats. Social Kitchen also has chef-prepared meals and sides ready to serve in just under 20 minutes. Perfect for those very busy springtime weeks, weekends, you name it. Hosting some people at the house. Hey, Social Kitchen also has build-your-own charcuterie boards and catering. Stop in and visit Social Kitchen today or visit us online at socialkitchentlh.com. socialkitchentlh.com.
Tallahassee is full of rich history and traditions. When you think of things that jump out in the minds of longtime residents, the state capitol, McClay Gardens, the Springtime Tallahassee Parade, FSU and FAMU Sports, the St. Mark's Lighthouse, St. George Island, and Paul's Termite and Pest Control. Paul's has been protecting thousands of people, their pets, their homes, and their lawns in the capital region for over 50 years. Locally founded and still locally owned and operated, There aren't many businesses in our industry that keep it together that long. Paul's Pest Control has many customers we've been honored to serve for over the last 50 years. We've experienced tremendous changes in how we treat homes and protect the people that live there. We've moved from liquid termite treatments that require drilling into the home's foundation to Centricine, a baiting system which works with their natural biology. We've moved from interior service to exterior treatments for general pests. But one thing we're not going to change is our old-fashioned commitment to personal service for each of our customers, the same way we've been doing it for over 50 years.
For the elimination of termites, any other pests, and a greener lawn too.
Call Paul's.
We'll get them all.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFT, Greta, Tallahassee.
The latest betting odds and live movements from Vegas. This is your action update. Now here are your latest lines from our guys.
Was $25 a line per month for 4 lines. Find us at straighttalk.com. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com. Device offer ends 4/14/24. Online only. Family plan discount with 4 lines, all on the Silver Unlimited plan. Taxes and fees apply.
KFC's new smashed potato bowl is out here looking like an absolute snack. For just $3.49, you get crispy secret recipe fries topped with creamy mashed potatoes, cheese sauce, bacon crumbles, and even more melty cheese. If you're looking to smash your hunger, grab KFC's new smashed potato bowl for just $3.49. For a little extra, add nuggets to the mix. It's finger licking good. Prices and participation may vary. Tax, tip, and fees extra.
If you've been waiting and waiting for the perfect time to buy your new house, you'll be waiting forever. This is Shannon Young with Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, and I have been a mortgage lender for over 20 years. And I can tell you that there is no such thing as perfect timing. So take the first step towards your new home and let me show you what that really looks like. Chances are very high that you'll be very surprised at what I can help you do. When rates go low, prices go high, and that home that you've been eyeballing could be gone. If you're wondering how the drop in interest rates is going to affect your payment, give me a call. I'll be more than happy to show you all of the options available to get you into your new home. And for every single loan that we close for a fellow Knoll, I will personally donate $250 per closing to the Battle's End. Let's do this together and let's keep climbing. Call me today at 954-369-6171. That's 954-369-6171. Or you can find me online at loansforknolls.com. That's loansforknolls.com.
Equal housing lender. NMLS number 373031.
Ugh, PB&J again. Moms, you've got a lot on your mind. Packing a lunch shouldn't be stressful. FreshFromFlorida.com can help. They have plenty of quick, delicious lunch and snack ideas to freshen up lunchtime. Simply look for the Fresh from Florida logo where you shop for locally grown in-season fruits and veggies to please even the pickiest eater. PB&J again. With Florida strawberries? Thanks, Mom. Packing lunches has never been easier. Fresh from Florida, there's sunshine in every bite.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Hour number 2, Jeff Cameron Show on Livations Friday. Thanks for tuning to it. 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Tom is playing hurt, but he's here and I'm here, and today's the first show and the last show of the week. How about that? It's rare that you get a double dose of first and last. Grand opening, grand closing. But we're back all of next week, and today's show is recorded. Just got to be transparent. But we did it today, just before we would have been on the air. So I don't think too many things are going to break in that interim time. I will say that next week when we come to do the show, Tom, we will have a lot to talk about as Florida State starts spring football. And that's kind of where I want to start here, right off the bat. This is, as we say it a lot, I know, but it's true. I think this is as eagerly anticipated a spring football camp under Mike Norvell as we've had, maybe outside of the first one, because again, you have so much competition. When I talk, and I talk incessantly about the raising of the floor of talent, this is what I'm talking about, where I can go most positions, maybe not linebacker, but I think every other position I can look at and say, that it is steeped in competition, that there is an awful lot of fight going on between 1 and 2 and 3 in the rotation. And there are some unanswered questions. There are some real unknowns in the sense that I don't know who's going to win the job. Not, I don't know who the player is that's going to emerge. It's these 3 guys. It's these 4 guys. And that's when you're doing things right. That's when you have the possibility of getting the best out of every single player on your roster when they have to fight day to day to be on the field come Saturdays.
Yes. So yesterday on the boards, actually Wednesday, I posted a question. I just wanted to get people's take. I said, if you could pick one player that you're most interested to read about or hear about during spring camp, who would that be? I was doing an experiment. I was hoping to get this result, but you never know. Experimentation doesn't confirm your thoughts. We had 21 responses in the scope of however many hours it was. 14 different players. 14 different players of 21 responses. That is interesting to me. Of course, DJ, you got the most votes. That makes sense. Only 2 players got multiple votes outside of DJ. It was Hakeem Williams and Sean Murphy. Linebacker concerns, and then the badass nature of what Hakeem can turn out to be. I think people are tantalized, like you are, about what Hakeem might be this year. But that, to me, speaks volumes about how entertaining a camp this is going to be. If you got 14 different answers, like last year, I almost feel like none of the regular starters or the stars would have been an answer to this straw poll. You'd be like, tell me about the freshman. Tell me about that one transfer. Tell me about Jaheim Bell, And now it's a wide open field. We got people asking about Lucas Simmons, Jalen Lucas, Darrell Jackson, Sean Murphy,
Lola
Haya. I mean, it's all over the place. It's all over the place. And I love that because I feel that too. I'm glad because we have a hybrid role here. We are media members. We're paid to do that, but we're also fans and alum. I'm just glad that I'm still in tune with how the people feel. It's a wide open camp. There are too many storylines. You're almost going to have to dedicate times to hit a storyline because if you don't get to it early on, you're not going to get to it. This is going to be a fun Monday ahead with the luncheon. There's no shortage of questions to ask every single one of the on-field coaches who are going to be available to us, let alone Mike and his presser. People are going to be battling for questions because, again, however you want to discuss this camp, there is something compelling to discuss. And I can't wait to see how that plays out. I'll be down there for a practice in a couple weeks' time. I can't wait to see it with my own eyes.
To your point, by the way, the article on warchant.com that you wrote, you had a voting breakdown. DJ got 6 votes. Hakeem Williams got 2, Sean Murphy 2, Darrell Jackson 1, and so on and so on. And so Lola Haya, who we mentioned, Marvin Jones, Malik Benson, Julian Armella, DJ Lundy, TJ Ferguson, Landon Thomas, Lucas Simmons, Vendravius Jacobs, Jalen Lucas. And that's exciting to me because every time I read the name, or when I read your story and then I read the names of who people voted on, in my head, I'd go, yeah, me too. I do think about that. Yeah, Jalen Lucas as well. He's fast. Yeah, what about Ventravius Jacobs? Is he going to have it all together? You know what? Lucas Simmons. Yes. I did it with every one of those players. So I kind of just mirrored and echoed the audience that we're catering to here and serving. And I just I think there are a lot of great questions. Hey, listen, the most obvious one is one I don't have an answer for. I suspect it'll be his best year, but I don't know if Uyunglele is going to be great or not. We'll see. He's been bad some places. He's been good in some places. He's had stretches where he's very good, stretches where he's not good at all. What do we get out of him? This will be fascinating. I mean, that is a big question at the most important position.
It is going to be fun to watch because you have to understand that going into camp. I would imagine if he can have a day where he can't hit the broadside of a barn if somebody who's open, but still make 2 or 3 exceptional throws, the practice has to look like that too. Like Jordan was remarkably consistent in practice, I think. You know, he had some days that were less than, and then some days where he couldn't miss, especially earlier in his career. Like he had a couple of days where he couldn't miss. You're like, oh my God. But I mean, there was this fine line or range where Jordan was going to be on a given day. It's like, this is where he's going to be. You can expect that. He'll make a throw to Johnny here and there. He'll make a play here or there. He'll run around. He'll make a play. DJ could be like day to day. You know, you could do the Warchant rap on a Tuesday and a Thursday from practice, and you could have completely different reviews of him. Like I'm almost expecting that going in. So I personally, from a consumption standpoint, maybe this is out there for the subscribers and the viewers, the podcasters, like don't live and die with each practice report on DJ.
Oh, well,
I got to imagine it's not going to be the most consistent thing in the world because he hasn't been that type of player on Saturdays. So we'll see what we get. But I know the best of what he's got is going to have everybody going, wow.
Yeah, those throws. Yeah, absolutely. Those wow throws that he's capable of will have us lauding what's possible. And then there'll be days where we're like, I don't know. The thing is, I think I've said this before. I'll say it again. I think Mike's offense and the way he calls plays for quarterbacks, I think he's going to get a lot out of you. If it's in there, he's going to get, your completion percentage is going to go up. He's going to scheme some open, easy throws for you to make. I suspect that there's confidence that will be gained early on as Mike builds him back to what he wants him to be or builds him up to what he'd like him to be within this offense. I will tell you, as far as him running around, I want to clarify my point about what he's capable of. So when we went out and watched Tour of Duty, it's readily apparent he's extremely slow-footed. He is not an elite athlete when it comes to speed, quickness, agility. He's a big, lumbering guy. But what I think he can also be is a battering ram in short yardage situations. And that's what I mean. Now, if you turn your back on him in man and there's nobody around and he can break the pocket, you got a problem on your hands because if he gets going and he gets to the second level at 250-plus pounds, that's a tough tackle. But you're not going to see him have anything close to the ability of making guys miss in a confined space the way Jordan did, obviously. So I just want to clarify that because I watched him carefully in those drills and I immediately thought, all right, I knew he wasn't an elite runner. We haven't painted the picture that he was an elite runner, but I think people hear us say, oh, well, he'll run. He can run. And I think that's more of a commentary that Jordan didn't want to run last year than it is a praise for him as a runner.
Yeah, well, he can, and in the open field, he can make you miss, but it requires about 6 steps to get going for him to make you miss. Like, he's got an idea of timing. He knows how to set up blocks. He knows the concept of a play pretty well. I think as a quarterback, he looks like he's got a good IQ about what a running play is supposed to do. Not every quarterback does. Some of them look completely lost, especially pocket passers. They look lost if you're trying to set up a block or have a pulling guard. Like, they don't know what to do. They panic. He does not panic in those situations. He's very patient. But you're right. I mean, like, yeah, he's not going to dance around and make, 2 dudes miss and then fire it 50 yards on a rope. Like, that's just not his game. His game is to anticipate, to diagnose pre-snap, understand where he's going with the ball, and then throw it 105 miles an hour and get it there before your defender can get there. And then if we can get to 3rd and 2, lower the shoulder and be a man about it. And he was at Oregon State. He was. I look forward to that combination of things coming. He's a very smart quarterback. I hope that you guys see that in the first week, because again, it's acclimation. So, they might have shells on. I don't know. I feel like the rules change all the time, but you're not in full pads for about a week. I hope you get to see those little indicators of the quarterback's brain. Like, he's got that. It's not about that. When he misses, it's inexplicable because he knows where to go with the ball. He's on time with it. He just misses, but he makes the right reads. He can whip his body around from one half of the field to the other, not feel panicked about that. It's like a skill that a great center fielder has, to take their eye off the ball, put their arm out and catch over their shoulder.
Run to a spot, yeah.
He's got that. It's just that there's an inconsistency with the accuracy. And maybe if Mike unlocks that, and we talked about this, if Mike and Tony Tokars unlock that, this dude's going to go he's going to be a contender for awards in the postseason, and the reputation of Norvell and Tokars is going to be nationwide as quarterback whisperers. I hope that's the case.
Well, I do too, and I think it's possible. He's played a lot of football. There's a lot of football under that belt now, and so his ability to acclimate and to read a defense and to do all the things you're talking about, it's probably never going to have been better than it will be this year. With those guys coaching him, all the games that he's played, 2 different offensive schemes. This will be his 3rd. He's just seen a lot of football, played a lot of football, and he's got weapons galore now. I keep saying this. I made a point. I've made this point that I think the offense will be better this year, and I've said it for a variety of reasons. I'm wholeheartedly sticking by that. And I think part of that is just how giddy I am about this receiving core. It is okay for people to say, we just don't have a lot of guys who've done it in games. Fair. It doesn't mean they can't do it, and it doesn't mean they won't do it, and it doesn't mean that we're going to have to watch, 3 or 4 games worth of growing pains. I don't think so. You have enough experience at receiver and enough reps. Hakeem Williams, good Lord, he played a lot of football. He was in a lot of games. He repped a lot in practice, obviously, before his injuries. So that's a kid who I think is playing. When you see him, Tom, I know you saw the video, but I want you to see him in person. What he's done in 1 year. This is, if I'm Coach Storms, I'm rolling him out as a case in point of what I'm capable of. This is a guy that is freakish in the sense that he's gifted genetically. You look at, to be 6'4", 6'5", 2 whatever, Coach Storms can't teach that. But the other stuff, like the way he's trimmed down and the efforts he's put in, he looks amazing.
Yeah, that's the uncomfortable binder that every strength coach has, which is the binder of a bunch of dudes in underwear comparing year-to-year photos. And here's my first case.
Yeah. No, but it's true. You watch people transform their bodies, and none greater than him. He's been remarkable. And there are a lot of guys that are fast, a lot of guys that were at practice every day last year that can come out there and assume their spot on the mantle. And Portier's been in this program for 25 years.
Yeah.
You've got a ton of guys that have been. Darion Williamson's been in this program forever.
Yeah, I worry that it's going to be bumpy to start, like for spring purposes. It wouldn't be shocking. Like, you're talking about growing pains in games, fine. Yeah. But I do think that there will be growing pains in springtime. There's kids being elevated to a different role, so they're pressuring themselves. Like, if you're Darion or if you're Kentron, at this point, it's now or never. I might need to transfer at the end of this camp. So there's a pressure that comes with that's internalized, and hopefully it doesn't show on the field. But, these are real-life things that players have to consider in this day and age, especially with the influx of receivers that Florida State has brought in. DJ's trying to get used to the new offense. He's trying to build chemistry with these receivers. I know they've done 7-on-7 workouts, but this is different. That secondary is good, so it's going to challenge them. And if you make a misstep, they're going to make you look foolish. It wouldn't shock me at all if the first 2 to 3 weeks of spring camp are a little bit bumpy with DJ. But here's the thing. I know we won't be able to talk about it openly, but we can in private until the season comes. I wonder if there's a little collaboration of the Jonathan Smith offense that DJ is coming from and the Mike Norvell offense, which is multiple as hell already. Could we see some under center stuff? Because they ran a lot of that at Oregon State. Offset eye. Mike Norvell talks about how he loves the fullback. Maybe, could it be? Because DJ looked very natural as an under center quarterback. In this day and age, that's rare. Does Mike take advantage of that for a season and install a set of plays where we have an offset eye and we kind of look like we're back in the 90s for a minute?
So cool. I have to admit that as much as I loathe the man, I did appreciate that Harbaugh got to Michigan and said, I'm doing the opposite of what everybody in the country's doing. I'm going to line up, be big. I'm going to be a bully. We're going to run the ball. We're going to have offset lines with massive amounts of size. I'm going to have 6 offensive linemen on the field, 7. I mean, we are going to run the ball, and you are not going to stop us from running the ball. This is what's going to happen. I believe, and so did Bill Belichick. Now, Bill's gone. He didn't get to see it through. He did a poor job of drafting, but I do believe that he was right. He said that's what's coming. He goes, we watch the trends in games, and we know that when one team goes 5 wide and throws the ball over the lot, soon others will do the same. It's what's going to happen, and they'll have success. But defensive coordinators are trying to get paid too. And at some point they decide, here's how we're going to shut that down. This is what we're going to do to offset your ability to do this. And so as more and more teams ran tempo and more teams ran spread and more teams did these things, what did we find, Tom? Well, we found freaks of nature that were hybrid players that were 6'3" and could cover and could play in space and in the slot and do all these things that we'd never seen guys do before. The sport demanded it. And I think the pushback to all of that is to say, okay, you want to run around out here with like one real linebacker? That's what you want to do? Okay. Well, here comes a mass of humanity. Good luck. Good luck filling that with a 204-pound guy who's really good at covering. But does he want to take on a real fullback? Does he want to actually have to deal with 300 pounds of mass coming at him with tight ends that can block and running backs that are 230? Good luck with that.
That's the other part, too, is, you know, they could go that route. And it doesn't mean about formationally speaking. It just
I know.
About identity. Man, you bring in 640 pounds of offensive linemen from the SEC. And I know that, you know, Richie Leonard and Ferguson, they may not be all Americans first team players, but we can get a whole lot better on that offensive line. Just judging from the tour of duty footage that I saw, you saw it with your own eyes, they both look like good enough athletes to run the type of offense that we want to run, which is moving the guards around, pulling them, doing all
Richie
that kind of stuff.
Leonard's an athlete.
He with a giant gut. That's what I see.
He's an athlete. He can move.
That's important. You know, that's with the interior. They didn't have the options they liked in the interior last year. They didn't run their bread and butter plays the way they wanted to last year. If these guys can do that at that size, then you're getting your cake and you're eating it too, right? Like this is 100%, you know, bully size for straight ahead, but then also the agility to get out in space with a guy like Roydell or Cam Davis or Keziah Holmes behind that. Okay. Like, I hope we do lean into that a little bit. The personnel suggests we should be more of a bully, but we'll see.
Well, this strikes me as a perfect segment that we can do next, which is Solve for the Future and our friends at ISF. That's what we'll do next. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Glass has been taking care of business since 1945. When you call Whidden Glass, you're dealing with experienced, reliable professionals who offer only the best. Like Whidden's top-of-the-line bath enclosures that provide style and luxury at an affordable price. Eye-catching storefronts are a specialty at Whidden Glass. We'll help you design it and install it. Whidden Glass, the first name in glass replacement. Call 222-5781.
You know what happens when a smart group of medical professionals get together and commit to a technology designed to relieve your aching joints without surgery? It's called QC Kinetics.
And this guy knows the power of a solid team. Emmitt Smith, football legend and Dancing with the Stars champ.
This elite medical group, some of them orthopedic doctors, got together and said, why are we prescribing so many medications? Why are we sending so many people to surgery in droves? Let's change this.
The answer? Natural biologics, our own healing properties. And the outcome is the country's largest provider of non-surgical regenerative treatments, QC Kinetics.
Actually, the real outcome are the tens of thousands of patients who finally got their quality of life back without surgery, thanks to QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics, 850-391-4280. That's 850-391-4280. 850-391-4280.
You probably already know that Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas is your one-stop destination for all pool maintenance needs, offering everything you need from chemicals, cleaners, vacuums, nets, and more. But that's not all. Pinch a Penny also carries a huge selection of premium hot springs hot tubs paired with easy financing options, making these luxury hot tubs affordable for everyone. And if you have an older hot tub and you're worried about the hassle of removing it, worry no more. Pinch a Penny will not only remove and haul away your old hot tub, but also offer a trade-in value for a credit towards your new one. So why wait? Visit Pinch a Penny's 12,000 square foot showroom today on Greer Road and discover how effortless and affordable owning a fantastic hot tub can be. Find out more at TallahasseeHotSpring.com. That's TallahasseeHotSpring.com.
Your friendly neighborhood bar and grill just got a whole lot closer to home. You can now order delicious Smitty's Tap House and Grill for delivery directly to your doorstep. Just visit Smitty'sTapHouse.com, click the Order Online button, and choose pickup or delivery. Enjoy Smitty's famous handmade pretzel with beer cheese, juicy pub burger, or even the amazing schnitzel sandwich, delivered fresh right to your doorstep. Support local and order online today for takeout or delivery at Smitty'sTapHouse.com, where everybody knows his name.
I'm Greg Tisch, here to share one of my favorite TCC stories. In the summer of 1966, Eugene Lamb wanted to stay in shape before leaving to play college basketball in Louisiana. So he jogged to Tallahassee from his home in Midway and helped lay the bricks for the first building on what's now the TCC campus on Appleyard Drive. Today, he is a longtime member of the TCC District Board of Trustees. It's no exaggeration when we say Trustee Lamb helped build TCC into what it is today.
TCC thanks our community for 58 years of support. We look forward to moving into the future together.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Welcome back, Jeff Cameron Show 93.3, Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Time to solve for the future. Solve the future. That's what we're going to do, right? With our friends at ISF. We've talked about ISF before. They remain wonderful partners with us, and they've helped state government and all the IT initiatives therein succeed for a very long time. In fact, since 1979, honing their capabilities with the digital revolution, right? And they are there to help you as well. They solve for the future. They've done it, by the way, in a lot of instances. I've mentioned the Department of Economic Opportunity, the Department of Children and Families, Department of Health, Department of the State, Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulation, all groups that they've worked with in the past, process innovation, compensation studies, all of it. If this rings true to you, if you know what I'm talking about, then you understand. Go to ISF.com to learn more. Tom, let's solve for the future. They did by going out and bringing in a ton of speed. And that's the other part of this offense that will look very different. I thought last year in the second half of the season, we looked slow, and it was frustrating. Now, a lot of that was born out of injury. And, the only explosiveness you really had on the roster late in the year was at running back. Because again, Jordan wasn't running, and then later he got hurt, obviously, at the end. But you had your explosive plays were from Trey Benson. You stopped making big plays down the field at wide receiver, and that's because every single wide receiver was hurt. Every single one of them. Now you brought in a bunch of speed, and you have some guys on the roster that'll get more playing time that are also fast. Hakeem is fast for that size, certainly. But we also know Vendravius Jacobs is quick twitch, to say the least. This is a guy that can make people miss and can really go. You brought in, obviously, from Alabama. You brought in from LSU, from Indiana. You just got a lot of speed pieces that you've brought in. And I think that will be an interesting part of this spring to see how the offense develops as well. What are they trying to do? I do think they want to stretch the field more. That's for sure.
Well, what that does is it opens up a whole lot of other things too. If a defense has to worry about being taken advantage of over the top, and automatically they do. You know, it's like anything else. You might not know the pitcher you're facing in baseball, but if the scouting report says he can throw 97, you feel different in the box than if it says he throws 91. Like you're geared up, you're ready to go. So DJ's reputation precedes him. When you're going to go at Ireland face Georgia Tech, they know he's got a cannon. They've seen it because that's a fixed game between Georgia Tech and Clemson. So they've seen that. And then you've got the speed at receiver. Like, it's going to open up things underneath. I think it's going to open up opportunities for the ground game. If you prove it early on against an opponent whose game, and you hit Jalen Lucas on some sort of designed play like we used to for Pokey Wilson 2 years ago, or you hit Malik Benson down the field and they're like, oh, crap, we really got to honor this. Well, what does that do? I mean, if you run some sort of counter or you run an outside zone, man, that safety is a step or two deeper than he normally would be. That corner was off in a cushion because they have to respect the speed of Malik Benson. Like, it opens up quick advantages for the bubble game. It opens up advantages as well. Quick passes, throws to the flat, flares for running backs. Like, all these things open up with speed. But this is a really interesting combination of what they put together, because we just finished up last segment talking about if they wanted to lean into the bruisers mentality, it would appear on paper that they can. If they can do both, and that becomes the type of offense that has you excited about how productive it can be, because it's however you want to play it. What situation do you want to be in this week? What defense or what strengths does this defense play to? Well, if they're really good in the box, so what? We got burners on the edge. If they're great in coverage, so what? We're going to load it up and we're going to be men and we're going to run right at them. These types of things are things that I would think has Mike Norvell salivating in installing the offense and developing the offense over spring camp and fall camp. And then the other thing is, as long as DJ's healthy, if you get me to 3rd and 2, you get me to 3rd and 1.5 or 4th and 1 with that battering ram of a quarterback, it changes the way I can call plays on 1st and 2nd down too. I might be more apt to take risks on 1st and 2nd down because I'm only trying to get 8 yards when it comes down to the money time. Like, this is potentially an offense that is going to be versatile in all the right ways.
It's interesting. You mentioned Ireland. Brent Key did a very good job for Georgia Tech last year. They had one of their best seasons in a long time. They come into the year with a lot of momentum. They have almost every one of their starters back on offense. Defensively, though, and this gets into what we're talking about, they were dreadful. And that's why they didn't win more games. They won a lot of games for Georgia Tech, but they didn't win more games because they couldn't get stops. And I went back and double-checked this earlier in the week. I was just kind of thinking about Ireland because Mike's been posting pictures from over in Ireland and Aer Lingus and all of them, the college football Ireland contingent over there. Really excited to have Mike and his family. And they went to Epic, the museum there, the Immigrant Museum, which is amazing, which everybody who's going over, I would suggest. I don't work for them, but if you're going, you need to go to that museum. It's incredible. I know you're going to go, Tom, as well. And it's emotional. It's really good. It's really, really, really good. I was glad they got to do that. I saw they went to St. Patrick's Cathedral. I saw they went a lot of places, as they should have. But I started thinking about that game because of those pictures, and I started thinking about how we're going to look and what we're going to try to do. So I went back and looked at Georgia Tech, and I know here we are in March, and we haven't even started spring practice yet. But, Georgia Tech gave up over 5.5 yards per carry on defense. It was the worst rush defense in the country. It was one of the worst rushing defenses in the country, depending on the metric you want to use.
5.5 yards is hurtful. Yeah.
Oh, Tom, they had real problems. It was, I think the exact number was 5.41 yards per carry. That has to be their number one concern going into their spring camp. They averaged, Tom, this is an amazing stat. They averaged giving up 2.7 yards per carry before contact.
Oh, God. Now, that is awful. Maybe that's why one of the players they got was Ayo Tafasi in the offseason from us. But we hardly got to the line of scrimmage without harm. Hardly ever got to the line of scrimmage without harm. Now, it mirrored the year before. I did the study on this. Is about the same period of time before our running backs got hit, but we were in such poor position with our scheme that it wasn't able to go from a 3-yard gain to an 8-yard gain or a 6-yard gain to a 15-yard gain. That's the fun part about this is you've got a weakness of Georgia Tech's and you got a weakness of Florida State's from last year going toe-to-toe. Who got better the quickest? And if the answer is us, then it could get fun because then it's a pick your poison game.
What Georgia Tech did, I think we're going to try to run the ball. We're going to test them right off the bat. But what they did do is they went out and got, you mentioned it, Tafasi from Florida State. Now watch the light bulb will go off for him. He'll be focused and play good football. But they also went in and got E.J. Lightsey from Georgia, who I'm really kind of upset about. That's a linebacker that we could have brought in, but instead he went to Georgia Tech. Just like we lost a linebacker to NC State. Anyhow, so this is my concern, dude. But they did go out to get help, and they brought in a defensive end, a defensive tackle, and a linebacker. And so when you're Georgia Tech and you bring in players from Georgia and from Florida State, one guess is that you're out to remedy the problem. So it may be a different looking team, but something to think about as we gear up for that game and what that matchup's going to look like. They had a very good offense last year. They could really move the football. So it'll be interesting to see what they are.
That's the fun thing. It is, it's so hard to tell in camp. Like the lesson I learned so many things from last year, and this is where having access just teaches you lessons that you can take with you as you move forward and you evolve as somebody who gets to see the game and break the game down. But when we went against ourselves last year, our offensive line looked good in run blocking and poor in pass protection. That could not have been more opposite than when they faced somebody else. What the truth was, we were inconsistent to bad at run blocking, and we were very good in pass protection last year. But fall camp told you the opposite. So I understand there are limiting factors of when you face yourself. But I do want to see what the linebackers look like. Because if the linebacker play, you've got a specialist who stops the run who's trying to get better at the other thing in Lundy. You've got an athlete that is an X factor in Sean Murphy. If they look okay, I'm going to feel fine about our defense the entirety of the year because that secondary has a ton of solutions. If somebody's not cutting it, he can sit his ass on the bench. That's great. You've got a lot of options there. Defensive line, interior, fewer options, but Josh Farmer has given you no reason to believe when he actually plays on the field that he won't be a badass. He's been consistently getting better and better over time. And then you need to find some answers probably around number 3, number 4 in the depth chart. Like who are your bona fide first guys in for defensive tackle? At end, you've got options there too. Like, so as long as linebacker's okay, you can face a good offense like Georgia Tech's, and I'm going to pick us and we're going to be okay. But it is about that middle of the field. I want to see how they look. I want to hear about how they look.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what they look like in coverage as well. I know that that's an area we've been picked on. Our linebackers specifically is what I'm talking about. Let's see if we've got a couple guys now that can do that. Is Nicholson big enough to leave out there and let him cover? Is he going to be a guy you can count on? Obviously, Murphy is a guy that we think can move a little bit. We'll see how he is in coverage. I mean, he kind of got knocked for his athleticism from Alabama. So we'll see. And then obviously DJ's got to take a step forward. At this point, I don't know that he will. I think he kind of is who he is, a run stopper, big linebacker. Probably can't have him on the field all the time. So we'll see.
Neutral situations and short yardage situations. I mean, those are a lot of snaps. That's a lot of snaps a game. And then the other question for defense is who's going to line them up? Who's going to play center field? And because when Dent was out there and not out there was a big difference.
Don't you think Shaheem could do that by now, right?
He might be able to help line him up, but I think they want him to be a disruptor near the line of scrimmage rather than a center fielder over the top. And those angles that you take and those decisions that you make, there's an art form to that. We'll see what Akeem – so a week from today's pro day, we'll see what Akeem Dent runs for a 40 time. I'm going to assume it's not blazing. That position is about, you need to have some speed, but you've got to have instinct and you've got to have a sense of what an offense is doing to you. It's not that they don't have candidates, but, when you don't have an Akeem Dent, you don't have that player that can settle things down and organize things and take good angles, make good decisions, you look like idiots very quickly. So that's an important thing to fill.
I do like that there are options, and that's all about solving for the future. That's exactly what we're talking about here. You've got guys in the secondary for days. This is the competition, man. This is going to be fun competition. They got a lot of guys that there's probably a couple guys in that secondary, Tom, that are going to hit the road. I think that is the two positions where I think you're going to see the most amount of departures after the spring ends would be in the secondary and at wide receiver. I think those two positions.
Which makes those one-on-ones, those 7-on-7s really important every day. And that I'm sure they all know that. I'd be interested to hear what Ron Dugans has to say, what Coach Surtain has to say about the level of competition in the offseason. I have to imagine that even in player-run things and the tour of duty, it should have gone to a different level, because every little thing you do is going to make the difference of whether or not you're going to be a Seminole in the fall or you're going to look somewhere else for playing time.
Kind of crazy. There are some, you start to become partial to players when they're here for a little while, or you get a good chance to see them in, say, a couple of camps at least, And I just think there would be some guys that kind of stings a little bit when they announce, but you get passed over, and we've heard coaches say this, and it's true. Their job is to recruit over you, to replace you, to constantly be finding guys to take your job.
We're only a couple of years removed from hoping against hope that Travis Jay has the light bulb come on. Look how far we've come. It's wild.
Never did, unfortunately. Damn it. It's always going to bother me that we couldn't get Travis Jay to play a good brand of football, given the elite athlete that he was or is. Jeff Cameron, Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Local news now.
A Florida A&M student is facing felony charges after being accused of serving as a getaway driver for 2 ATM break-ins in January and February. More than $100,000 was taken from each machine. The first ATM was hit early in the morning on Sunday, January 14th. None of the suspects were immediately identified. A second ATM was hit less than a month later on Sunday, February 11th. Suspects used chains attached to a stolen truck to pull the safe door off the ATM. The second theft came just a few weeks later, and the same type of tools were used in both robberies. Kendall Haggerty, of 19 years old from Houston, Texas, is now charged in connection to the two incidents. Text messages were found in Haggerty's phone that indicated she had been discussing hiding cash with her boyfriend, along with several other photos and videos involving the cash. As of now, Haggerty's arrest is the only one that has been made. This is Rachel Anay with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by McLemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at McLemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times this afternoon. Daytime highs approaching 79. Winds out of the northeast around 5 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies again tonight. Lows level off around 56. Daytime highs approaching 79 tomorrow. Cloudy skies with a few peaks of sun. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 79.
Barry knows cool. He's keeping you comfortable. Barry knows cool. You can put him to the test.
Your heating and air conditioning system doesn't check with you before it takes a break. That's why we're always ready to help. Any day, anytime, anywhere. And with our annual service agreement, there are no overtime charges. Ever. At Berno Heating and Air, we will always be there for you.
Barry knows heating and air conditioning.
License CAC 1816186.
So everybody knows, Eddie, that you are a spectacular cook. Of course they know that. If they go into Bumpa's, the food is always good. I mean, everything on the menu.
Mm-hmm.
Everything at Gordo's is delicious. I always, of course, get the bungalow chungla, as I call it.
The bungalow chung, Jeff?
Is that what is the pork?
The bungalow chung, Jeff.
Okay, the bungalow chungla. It's delicious. All these things, all the items, everything you do, a master cook. But, sir, I would ask you, what is a skill that you possess that you're particularly proud of, that nobody would know, and that you could share with us here?
Growing hair, Jeff. Growing hair.
You're an asshole. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996. Before we march into the red zone with our friends, obviously, at Artisan Financial Strategies, we first want to alert you to the fact that there are 116, can you believe it, 116 Zaxby's here here in Tallahassee, Florida. I know there are not 116 Zaxby's available to Tom in New York City. I just know that there's not. And even though New York City houses millions of people, they're often longing for a Zaxby's because they're not bountiful like they are here in Tallahassee. So stop at one of these 116 Zaxby's here in town and get the deliciousness that is Zaxby's. And while you're there, thank Danny, who has been a Golden Chief booster supporting Florida State athletics for over 19 years, buddy. 19 years.
Don't take life for granted, folks. Understand how precious these things are, and make sure to leave a note for Danny. Just say, thanks, Danny. Write a note, leave it at the desk. People are going to go, just leave it at the desk. Thanks, Danny. I think we should change the copy to basically 20 years. He's been a Golden Chief booster for basically 20 years.
Basically 20 years.
At this point. Danny was there for the lost decade. He never left. Actually,
always there to support, unwavering.
These last 20 years haven't been that great by Florida State standards of the previous 20 years, but he has been steadfast, and you be steadfast for him. When I land in town 8 days from now, I'm going to go get me some Zaxby's on the way to the club and then go hit some golf balls. That's what I'm going to do.
I see you working. I like it. By the way, when you go in, when you write that note of thanks to Danny at one of the 116 Zaxby's that you're visiting, write down the fact that you appreciate 116 Zaxby's. And then you'll get a real quizzical look. But just to hand that over and say, we really appreciate all 116 Zaxby's here in Tallahassee. It's amazing. All right, now we march into the red zone, and we do so with our friends at Artisan Financial Strategies. I've mentioned my good friend, Adam Tolliver, before. He's my good friend, but he is our fellow Knoll. And he's a bright guy, and his team at Artisan Financial Strategies are going to set you up once you're in the red zone, the retirement red zone, we call it, the 5 years leading up to your retirement date, the immediate 5 years after. Very critical times for you to have a financial strategy, to understand what you're doing so that you don't run out of money and you can fight against rising healthcare costs. And they've got a ton, 30 plus years of planning experience to help you navigate your way across what can be bumpy terrain. So go to knollretirement.com and learn more. We've had a couple people mention this before. I got to tell you, if you don't have a guy that you love, I'm highly suggesting you go see Adam. knollretirement.com. Even if you do have a guy you love, Adam's better. His team's better. knollretirement.com. All right, Tom, what do we got?
Welcome to the majesty.
Every freaking rep.
The elegance.
To win the game. Oh, he hits the upright. It's no good.
You have entered.
Someone burned down the funeral home. You burnt the funeral home.
Lives will be changed.
Sideline. Touchdown. Unbelievable.
Mothers will cry.
When you see your players give all that they have and you lose that way, it's tough.
Legacies are etched into eternity.
I know who I am.
North, South Dakota was his brother from West Virginia.
This is the Red Zone.
It's good to know.
I laugh every time. That's as good a montage as you've ever put together.
Thank you, because I put a lot of good ones together, so that's saying something.
That's a good one. It
There
makes
are
me
some
laugh.
stinkers, but they're not all stinkers. A lot of them.
No, they're mostly good. And that one's great just because you get the absurdity that I love. So there you go. It's all there.
All right. I've got a fun exercise. I didn't know where I was going to go. We're finally getting into a place where, football questions can be generated by things that you've seen that we can talk about. But until that point, here is one more hypothetical. And I like this one because it is about literally the red zone. If you are in a situation this season where Florida State either needs to score a touchdown in the red zone to win a football game, like a field goal does you no good, it's a 4-point game, or get a stop in the red zone in order to win a football game, you're up by 4. Which side of the ball do you trust more to win the football game for you in the red zone?
Oh, wow. Good God, I haven't seen a single practice with our new quarterback. How am I supposed to tell?
You know the answer. These are you got to be definitive on March 15th.
I'm going to tell you that I think it's the defense.
Interesting.
I think it's well, we can cover. We're going to be able to cover. I think we're going to be able to cover. So the field shortens in the red zone. you can play big up front and stop the run, and now teams have to throw the ball. And I think you got too many good cover guys. I think we'll be able to bottle people up there. We've been good in the red zone in the last few years, a couple of years. Yeah, we've been good.
They have been. I find this interesting because you're bullish on the offense. But
Tom, I haven't seen a practice.
Oh, well, I mean, come on now. This is the exercise that we do. This is the dance we do in March. It's about the potential of what you think they can be, and it's projecting, of course. But
I think you have to be tough in the red zone. You got to be physically tough, and maybe I'm going to be really happy this year in that regard. But it's a big leap from last year to go where we were on the offensive line to where we'd have to be for me to be very comfortable in the red zone, where the yards are tough to come by. And we couldn't bully people last year. We could not bully anybody. In fact, our offensive line was kind of the bane of our existence last year. It wasn't very good. And so I'm now going to have to take that leap with you and not choose defense, but choose offense. I'm going to have to guess that offensive line is appreciably better. And maybe I should. But I want to see Ferguson play, and I want to see Richie play, and I want to see, so.
Okay. So you like this offense from 20 to 20, at least right now?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. And I think we got playmakers where we'll be able to score. We'll be able to change the scoreboard with some guys a little bit more frequently this year without having to be so methodical. I think we have some guys that if you miss, they're gone.
Yeah.
And that wasn't that way a year ago.
Yeah, one of the questions is, and I've been waiting to see this because he showed signs that he wants to do it. Do we finally have enough depth on the offensive line and health, more importantly? Because there was depth last year, but not enough health. To go unbalanced in a situation like this, to play 6 offensive linemen, to get bully ball. Because, a question on offense that it's not going to be sexy. Who is your inline tight end? Is Jackson West going to be that guy? Who is your blocking tight end? I don't think it's Morlock. He might get better at it, but if he is good enough to be your red zone dual threat on the end of the line tight end, I would be surprised, and that would be another story of development for Florida State. But you've got to be able to set the tone on the line of scrimmage in the red zone. The defensive line already has all those answers, like the starters. Yeah, absolutely. And then DJ Lundy becomes more of a weapon in the red zone because he wants stuff to run. You're right. The spacing changes, so your safeties get more involved by nature.
Yeah.
You're gonna succeed on the line of scrimmage on defense in the red zone. On offense, I think Darius Washington is definitely going to be a part of the puzzle, but where does he line up? Mm-hmm. You could almost say that wherever Darius lines up is a statement about a deficiency somewhere on the offensive line, even though he might be your best player. Like if he's at tackle, that means you don't have the solutions at tackle that you wanted. If he's at guard, it's probably the best answer, but it also means that maybe TJ or Richie isn't, a player that you thought he might be. If he's at center, that might be the best answer. No disrespect to Mo Smith, but if Darius plays at center, that probably means that you got the answers you wanted at tackle and at guard. But in order to succeed in the red zone, you have to have it up front. The defense will. We already know the defense.
Yeah, I won you over. There it is. This has been a good red zone.
Well, but you've been a flag waver for the offense and it being better than last year. So I was wondering if you were willing to take that inside the 20.
No, I think it'll be a more consistent offense. I think it'll be a more explosive offense. We'll have an opportunity to make more plays out on the edges because receivers can make you miss and go to the house. But that red zone's a little different conversation. That's all I'm saying. NoreTirement.com. We'll come back and wrap it up with an oldie but a goodie. That's next. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Attention, Florida. Are you a victim of an auto accident? We introduce our live chat sponsor, Hyson Leaka Law Firm, dedicated to representing injured clients statewide. If you've been in an accident, call Hyson Leaka Law Firm at 813-803-0733 for a free consultation. Remember, there's no cost to you unless they win. Your interests come first with Hyson Leaka Law Firm, the name you can trust for justice. Call 813-803-0733 now or visit HysonLeakaLawFirm.com. Hyson Leaka Law Firm, your advocate in times of need.
Project is $16 million. The transit center will sit in the corner of Orange Avenue and Meridian Street. The project should be complete by late 2025. This is Rachel Anay with your Real Talk 93.3 Local News Update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times this afternoon. Daytime highs approaching 79. Winds out of the northeast around 5 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies again tonight. Lows level off around 56. Daytime highs approaching 79 tomorrow. Cloudy skies with a few peaks of sun. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 77.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future. So everybody knows, Eddie, that you are a spectacular cook. Of course they know that. If they go into Bumpa's, the food is always good. I mean, everything on the menu. Everything at Gordo's is delicious. I always, of course, get the bungalow chungla, as I call it.
The bungalow chung, Jeff?
Is that what is the pork?
The bungalow chung, Jeff.
Okay, the bungalow chungla. It's delicious. All these things, all the items, everything you do, a master cook. But, sir, I would ask you, what is a skill that you possess that you're particularly proud of that nobody would know and that you could share with us here?
Growing hair, Jeff. Growing hair.
You're an asshole. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996. So, by the way, is it next week, Tom, that I'm able to do probables?
Technically, I mean, I think that's when the Seoul series, if you really want to do Dodgers and Padres from Seoul.
Want to remind everybody, swing past Power Mill Training Academy. 27 alumni in the majors, 45 years of experience. Over 2,000 kiddos have come through there. Boys, girls, softball, baseball, doesn't matter. They do you right. Make the game more enjoyable for your kids. Go to powermillsports.com to learn more. If I were doing probables, Tom, you'd hit the music and I'd say Orioles, Rays, Dean Creamer, Nayui Yasuawa, Braves, Tigers, AJ Smith, Shaver, and Matt Manning. We've got the Tigers and the Blue Jays. Keter Montero, Ricky Tiedemann. Who the hell are these people?
They're doing the spring breakout series where a lot of their studs play on a given day.
Yeah, this is it's kind of hilarious. Pirates, Yankees, Quinn Priester, who's going to be in our rotation. Clark Schmidt. He spells Clark wrong.
Quinn Priester?
He's going to be in our rotation, buddy.
I got to come up with something for Quinn Priester.
Quinn Priester is going to be, I think, our 4-starter. So, just so you know.
Father Quinn, man of the cloth. There you go.
Marlins, Cardinals, Ryan Weathers, Steven Matz. We know them.
Yeah.
Cardinals rotation, by the way. Cardinals were a terrible baseball team last year. That's good to know. It should be pointed out that the average age of the Cardinals rotation, I think, is 35.
Boy, so they didn't take the hint about getting younger, huh?
It's great. I hope they suck ass again. It's wonderful. I want to live in a world where the Cardinals are consistently terrible. I want, 10 years from now, I want you and me to be going, whatever happened to the Cardinals? My God.
Well, we've seen that happen with some power. Like Detroit's still trying to make the playoffs for the first time in 10 years in hockey. The Patriots aren't going anywhere for some time now. So, yeah.
Patriots aren't going anywhere soon, buddy. Hey, this was fun. I'll talk to you on Monday. Get healthy over the weekend, buddy. Be good. I'll talk to you later. Everybody else, appreciate you. We're back live on Monday. We got Coach's Luncheon, actually, so one of the hours will be recorded. But then after that, a chance to see practice and get you guys caught up. Have a great weekend. Peace.